Welcome to 3 Count Commentary, May 1st, 2023, the final night of the draft. There's going to be some supplemental stuff. We'll take care of it on NXT. I can't deal with this anymore, all right? I hate the draft. How do you say I hate the draft in Spanish? There's got to be somebody here who's Puerto Rican, Dominican, Spanish, somewhere, something. There's somebody who speaks some version of Spanish. Cuban. There's got to be some Cubans or something here. Floridians with, who are the descendants or the immigrants of some. Got to be somebody who could tell me how much you can hate. I hate the draft in Spanish. How much I hate the draft in French and German and Portuguese and pretty much any language that you know. Dutch, if you know Dutch, please. I hate this draft. It sucks. It's caca. It's fugazi. It's bullshit. All right. It's the draft is an absolute boondoggle. It's bamboozling you. And the fact that they got a huge rating on SmackDown makes it even worse. That means they're just going to do it again next year. They can't even stick with the gimmick for 10 minutes. 10 minutes into the draft, they undoing the draft. They defeat the point of the draft. It's ridiculous. Okay, so because you care about it, I care about it because I have to care about what you care about. And you probably want to know what my thoughts are. Let's talk about the supplemental draft before we get into whatever they did tonight, which is waste everybody's time. So the supplemental draft from over the weekend, Raw, they picked the Viking Raiders and Valhalla. That's unfortunate. I could have sworn I asked specifically for them to be drafted into a cannon and shot into the Pacific Ocean, but I didn't get my wish. Dexter Lumis. Jesus Christ. I didn't even know this guy was still around. Candice LeRae. Okay, sure. Maximum Male Models. Well, they were moved to Raw for apparently no reason at some point earlier this year, so whatever it goes. Natalia, because that's a big deal that we really need to know about. Apollo Crews. Well, he's not important enough to get recognized on the regular show, so that's unfortunate. Zoe Stark is called up from NXT to Raw. Hey, how about you save this for Raw, and you take some of the bums you drafted on Raw, like, I don't know, Rick Boogs, and throw him on here. And they also drafted JD McDonough to Raw. So they've turned Raw, I know a lot of people have said it, but they turned Raw into the wrestling show. When you got JD McDonough on the show, you are planning to do nothing but wrestling matches. So it ought to be interesting, I guess. Look, JD McDonough, I don't hate him. I've hated his NXT work because it's been very stale. But he was really good at NXT UK. If he could find the swag that he had at NXT UK, it'd be good. But this sort of crazy surgeon character that he's doing now, he can kick rocks with this. He can kick rocks barefoot with this. Stupid potato farmer. Anyway, let's move on to the free agents. That means the people that nobody wanted, the refuse of the draft. They mean, oh, I forgot all about that guy, part of the draft. Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, unfortunately, Von Wagner, and Omos. These were the announced free agents for the supplemental draft. Dolph Ziggler not being able to find a spot on the roster is disgusting. Look, he's been around forever. I'm pretty sure they were putting together the rosters and they was just like, you know what? It's like when you're going through your piggy bank and you start separating the quarters and the nickels, and then you start seeing like random pennies in there, and that's like Dolph Ziggler, It's like a random penny in your jar. Like, you don't want to throw it away, but it ain't a quarter. It ain't a dime. It's kind of like, well, I'll figure out what to do with you later. Same thing with Mustafa Ali. We'll figure it out some other time. You'll sit on the bench and we'll call you when we need you. But Von Wagner, here's the thing. Now, everybody knows if you may not listen to the NXT, you may not watch the show. Von Wagner sucks. All right? He sucks. But he is a new recruit. Why is he, JD McDonough, and Zoe Stark, who I'm not a fan of? I'm not a fan of Zoe Stark either. But why are you doing them like this? You already telling the audience they're not important by not drafting them on TV. You could at the very least make it seem like they're important picks by having them be drafted on TV. Look, it's okay about Mustafa Ali. He's an also-ran. He's been in the company 6 years or something like this. If he hasn't been world champion or anything right now, it likely will never happen for him. Dolph Ziggler is an also-ran. Omos, you can blame it on MVP not wanting to tie him down to one brand, whatever excuse you want to pull. But Von Wagner, you're killing his career. The guy is not even 30. Like, you're not even giving him room for improvement. You're basically saying, like, yeah, you're on the main roster, but I don't know what we're going to do with you. So you're on the main roster somewhere. And it's like, that's completely and totally unfair to the kid. Put him somewhere, give him some vignettes, and yes, he's going to be very plain, and it likely ain't going to work out, but at least get his foot in the door. You basically tying anchors around these people's ankles by saying, hey, okay, so Zoe Stark, yeah, you're on the main roster, but we're not going to talk about you. You're not important enough to do a vignette for. You're not important enough to actually be featured on the show. So we'll get to you when we get to you. Same thing with JD McDonough. It seems very unfair to me. Maybe I'm being extra sensitive because I do think that this was the draft should be for. And I've said this in my previous video. The draft should be for NXT. It shouldn't be for fucking Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. It should be for the NXT talent. It should be a spotlight on who is coming up next. Just like the NFL draft, just like the NBA draft. Those drafts are about who is coming up next. Who are going to be the next stars of the league? Who's going to be the next stars of the WWE? Zoe Stark, Von Wagner, JD McDonough. All right. If you want to leave certain guys who've been around for a long time, who, they haven't gotten anything started, just want to leave them on the side, fine. I don't care. Focus on the NXT talent. Those should be the ones who should be getting the attention. Not, you drafting the tag team champions. It's stupid. God, I hate it so much. Let's get through this episode. Shit. Let's get through this before my head explodes. So Raw came out, Triple H bored everybody with his banter instead of just getting right to the draft. Rhea Ripley was drafted to Raw, which of course was going to happen because Bianca Belair was drafted to SmackDown. Austin Theory was drafted to SmackDown, which of course happened because Gunther was drafted to Raw. So nothing surprising here. We just had to waste 2 picks on this. Seth Rollins, of course, was drafted to Raw because he's likely going to be the World Heavyweight Champion. Charlotte Flair was drafted to SmackDown. No doubt, so that we can get the Bianca Belair Charlotte Flair match. And maybe we'll get it at WrestleMania. Maybe we'll get it before. But it seems like it's finally going to be coming up soon. So that's fine. But Charlotte is on vacation or hiatus or whatever anyway. So it's fine. Booker T and Sharmell, they did the introductions for the second round. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are now exclusive to Raw. What does that mean? They're the tag team champions, the quote-unquote undisputed tag team champions at that. So now we're going to have a SmackDown tag team championship because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are on Raw, right? That's how this works, right? We had to create a new title because Roman has the title. So now we have to create new titles because Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have the titles. So that means SmackDown has to create new tag team titles. Whatever. And then how apropos, the Usos are drafted to SmackDown. So we had to waste a pick. You know how we drafted 8 members of the LWO at one time, but we couldn't draft the Usos with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. We couldn't do that. That's asking for too much. Just like we couldn't draft Rhea Ripley along with Judgment Day. They had to be drafted separately. Now, nobody is going to sit down and explain this to you. How is it that you can draft all the members of the LWO at one time, but when it comes to Rhea Ripley, she gets drafted separately from Judgment Day? How is it that the Usos are not drafted along with Roman Reigns? How are you making it that it's legal for you to pick 4 or 5 talented people at one time, and some idiot in a boardroom is making a decision that, oh yeah, there's 5 people here, I only want one of them. And then you turn around like, you know what? I changed my mind. I want the other ones too. That's stupid. That's stupid. All right? It's just dumb. It's dumb. Can you at least give me that is stupid? To draft one person out of a faction if you can draft the whole faction? I thought the point of drafting one person out of the faction would be because you could only draft one person at a time. So they drafted the Judgment Day to Raw. So Judgment Day remains complete. Stupid. And then they drafted the entirety of the LWO, which consists of like 5 people, to SmackDown. So they're separating the Judgment Day and the LWO, which they absolutely needed to do. Thank you very much. They dragged Shawn Michaels out to do round 3. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez have been drafted to Raw, which now means, I guess, SmackDown has to have their own women's tag team championships, or are there not going to be women's tag team championships on SmackDown? I don't know what that question is going to be. Or is it perhaps that Isla Dawn and Alba Fire are going to just basically elevate their championships, the NXT women's tag team titles, to being the SmackDown women's tag team titles? I mean, it's entirely possible. They could just be like upgraded in terms of title, which I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out there, man. This shit don't make no sense to me, and it's just they just doing stuff anyway. Asuka is going to SmackDown. Okay, that's fine. The New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. So Big E is not a part of the New Day. He's also probably injured and not in the draft pool to beginning. And anyway, don't like this. They should have broke the New Day up. I mean, the New Day has run its course. The New Day ran its course years ago. I think Kofi Mania was the end of the New Day. And the residuals of that was the Big E title run. They really should have just separated those two and forced them to do something else, for Christ's sake. The Brawling Brutes have been moved to SmackDown. So Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, their tag team has been broken up. Nobody cares about that anyway. But most importantly, Sheamus can no longer chase the Intercontinental Championship, which was a fantastic story that he had going on about him wanting to be the Grand Slam champion. That's over now. He can't fight Gunther if Gunther is on Raw. So now you have to reposition the Brawling Brutes. Oh boy. That's tough. That's a tough one, right? Real tough. Okay, so Triple H also announced, I forgot, that Brock Lesnar is a free agent. He renegotiated his own contract so that he can go wherever he wants, because that's the special attraction thing, right? You know, Omos is a special attraction. Brock Lesnar is a special attraction. But at the same time, Von Wagner, Dolph Ziggler, the guys that nobody wanted, and the guys who everybody might want but don't want to be got, all have the same stature. How about we just call the free agents? You could have just put them somewhere, and you could have called Brock Lesnar a special attraction, and that he can go anywhere he wants, or he's a non-regular roster member, which actually would fit a shoot version of what he does. You know, Brock essentially does whatever he wants. He's not a regular roster member, so he shouldn't get drafted. But that should also apply to Edge, and it should also apply to Trish Stratus, who they drafted to Raw. Trish Stratus ain't wrestling every week. Why is she exclusive to Raw? That's a waste of a pick. She's about to be gone in a couple of weeks. It's a waste of a pick. And because apparently since Becky Lynch is injured, they haven't forwarded their storyline at all. So she's on the same brand as Becky, but that's about it. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do their thing in Saudi Arabia. That's what I'm thinking. But do you really think that, whoa, wait a minute. Trish Stratus in a cat suit. Oh, with them gigantic things thanging. And it's, okay, well, maybe I need to correct myself. I'm all for Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch in Saudi Arabia. Karrion Kross was drafted to SmackDown. So this feud with Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be very short-lived because now they're on separate brands. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler have been drafted to Raw. Makes sense because that's where the women's tag team titles are. LA Knight was drafted to SmackDown. Okay, no big deal there. He's just staying where he is. Molly Holly and Road Dogg, an interesting pair. Eric Bischoff showed up. Christ, oh boy. How many people do you think that pissed off? How many people do you think are very upset at Eric Bischoff right now? Especially after he went on his tirade saying that CM Punk was a desperate bitch for showing up backstage at Raw. It was completely and totally uncalled for. You didn't have to call him all kinds of names. I mean, if CM Punk is on some kind of good guy Greg tour where he's trying to pretend that he's not as bad as everybody made him out to be. He was playing Uno cards backstage at Impact. He was playing Uno with like Jordan Grace. It was like, the Big Brother program. Like some kind of mentor program. Like he went back there and he brought all the Latchkey Kids t-shirts and house shoes. He got Moose a tie. I heard it was real nice. He was backstage, passing out oatmeal and all kinds of stuff. It was just a good old time with him going down to the old soup kitchen they call Impact. Moving on. Road Dogg and Molly Holly. Braun Strowman and Ricochet drafted to Raw. Who cares? Shotzi drafted to SmackDown. Why isn't she put into the free agent pool? As long as they got her away from Natalya, that works for me. Bronson Reed is drafted to Raw. Okay, that's fine. Pretty Deadly is called up and moved to SmackDown. Good move. It was beyond time for Pretty Deadly, and they're going to be amazing. They're going to be good. Especially once they're allowed to really turn the characters up, they're going to be a hit on SmackDown. People are going to be very upset with them, but they're going to be very good. I love Pretty Deadly. They rule. They're one of the best NXT acts. And I actually legitimately smiled when they got called up. Because that's the feeling that you want for, the draft. Is you see somebody like Pretty Deadly, and even though they were heels, you see people in the crowd clapping for them, very excited for them. In kayfabe, however, they survived being thrown in a river. They're still alive. So that means that Tony D'Angelo failed to murder Pretty Deadly. We all seen him try to murder them, and they managed to escape. So I'm glad they're okay. They didn't drown out there in the river or whatever he threw them in. So the last round of the draft, Alpha Academy to Raw, they were already there. Rick Boogs. Come on, man. Look, I like Rick Boogs and all, but come on. This is a waste of a pick, right? Rick Boogs to SmackDown. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance are being drafted to Raw. Interesting scenario, because now they challenged Isla Dawn and Alba Fire for the tag team championships at NXT, thinking that they was going to win the titles before Alba Fire and Isla Dawn could run off with them to SmackDown. But now they've been drafted to Raw. So no matter who wins, those tag team titles are leaving NXT. So you know what that means. There's probably going to be some kind of tournament of some description. Or maybe a Shawn Michaels' favorite Fatal 4-Way ladder match or something dumb like that, to crown new women's tag team champions. And it's going to be very necessary, because no matter who wins that match, the team is leaving. But Kaden Carter and Katana Chance has been in NXT literally forever. And it's been beyond time for them to sink or swim on the main roster. So them being called up is absolutely the right decision. And the last pick of the draft was Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes rules. He was a fun character on TV. He's been gone for a long time. Him being picked last sucks. Again, this is one of those things where if the draft was only NXT talent, then he would have been picked a long time ago. I'm not sure if he's injured. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but it was nice that he was drafted and that they cared enough about him to put him on screen. Unfortunately, I don't think he was in the NXT room at the time, but it was nice. Now, when it comes to the NXT talents, is what I thought was great. Now, everybody was bitching and moaning and complaining because Grayson Waller didn't get drafted, and I think everybody was expecting it. So Grayson Waller tweeted out right after Pretty Deadly got drafted. No, it was before Pretty Deadly got drafted because it was at 8:30. He said the NXT roster is so cringe, acting like they're in the audience at a daytime talk show. This guy is great. This guy rules, man. Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah, NXT needs the talent, so you do want to keep them around for that. So, it was fun, that was a great. But here's the crazy thing. As I was recording this, I was closing down the site where I was looking at the free agents because I was like, I don't need this anymore. I'm closing it down. As I close it down, it goes to Twitter. Grayson Waller has been drafted to SmackDown. So we had to draft Rick Boogs on TV. And we drafted Grayson Waller to SmackDown at 11 o'clock at night. I don't get it. I don't get this. I don't understand it. Dana Brooke was drafted to Raw. Nobody cares about this. Nikki Cross to Raw. Who gives a fuck? Johnny Gargano drafted to Raw. Who cares? You knew he was going to get drafted to Raw because his wife is on Raw. And Tamina was drafted to SmackDown. Sheesh. I mean, are you... Tamina, she's still there. I mean, she still has a job, for Christ's sake. So, of the list of talents that is still undrafted or free agents or whatever, Baron Corbin, Akira Tozawa, Los Lotharios, Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, Elias, Emma, Piper Niven, Riddick Moss, Tegan Knox, and Xia Li. I'm guessing they're still doing drafts as I talk because Indu Sher with Jinder Mahal, which means Sangha and Veer. So a trio of guys. I like Indu Sher. They're being drafted to Monday Night Raw. Odyssey Jones was drafted to Monday Night Raw. I mean, look at these. Why are they calling up so many NXT talents off screen? Do you people are not listening to what I'm saying here in terms of, or obviously they're not listening. What I'm saying is you, the listener, the person who has like his ear pods in or something. Do you not understand what I'm saying in terms of why are you drafting these people? And then the wider audience who are actually watching the television has no fucking idea who Odyssey Jones is or where he came from. Instead of you announcing it on fucking TV. Oh my God. This got my blood pressure high as fuck. I'm going to stop looking at this because it's not changing too much. So the free agents as of this recording, which is 11:45 p.m. on May the 1st, is Brock Lesnar, Omos, MVP, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, Elias, Zion Quinn, and Von Wagner. I don't know what happened to Tegan Knox. I don't know what happened to Piper Niven. I don't know what happened to Humberto Carrillo or Angel Garza. I have no idea. It's too many people for me to keep up with. I don't know. I don't care. To me, having all of these NXT call-ups happen off screen while you had to make sure that everybody knows where fuck Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are going to be. I have to know where I'm going to find fucking Charlotte Flair this, next week or whatever. Come on. Everybody's watching these damn shows anyway, man. Just treat it like an absolute draft night. Call up the young talent. Focus on them. Can they get a time for themselves without having to share fucking time with Roman Reigns and Bianca Belair and all this shit? Come on, man. You could have did half the work and got the same exact outcome. Nobody cares about this shit at the end of the day, man. Now you have to figure out what you're going to do with these championships that you've consolidated. How are you going to deal with these champions being specific on one brand and these guys being stuck over here? And you teased breaking up tag teams, you broke up none. You teased breaking up factions, you broke up none. It's stupid. Then all these exceptions. Oh, Brock is an exception. It's ridiculous, man. It's just dumb. I hate this damn draft. This is one of the shittiest ideas, and it's even worse now that Triple H is there. Because he's calling up NXT talent and basically just poor Zion Quinn, for Christ's sake. Poor Von Wagner. Like, these dudes never did anything to anybody. Except, Von Wagner sucks. But what else did these guys do to anybody, man? That they get fucked over in this way. Oh yeah, we're gonna call you up, but just go home and have a seat. We'll call you if we need you to do a job on Main Event or something. If we need you to do some kind of backstage vignette, you could be a security guard. We're gonna call you up to be an extra or something. We were too busy, letting everybody know where Alpha Academy is going to be on the draft night. Not actually shaking up the roster, not actually doing something different. Fuck. I hate this draft, man. How do you say I hate the draft in Greek? Because I think that's the only way I'll be able to get my point across. I have to say it in a different language. I'm so glad it's over. I don't know what to do. I'm about ready to throw a goddamn taco party. I need to turn my hate boner or my hate flamethrower towards the rest of this wretched show. Paul Heyman, he comes out. I'm going to shorten it up because I don't want to be here all night. He joked about Roman Reigns winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Then he says we're going to learn the fate of the Usos tonight. We do know that the Usos have rejoined Roman on SmackDown. He says that they're going to address their problem at Backlash, the problem being Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Then he starts talking about men who talk about Roman, men who are not men who are clowns, freaking jokes. That brings Seth Rollins out there, who talked about how Paul Heyman should be happy they don't have to politic against him anymore, that now him and Roman are on different shows. And then say he's going to show the people what a real champion looks like. Heyman says that Roman was getting pissed as the people were singing and they were unable to have a civil phone call. Then the threat was laid out that Seth Rollins wanted to stomp Paul Heyman's head. Solo Sikoa came out there to protect him. Match was laid down. Solo Sikoa versus Seth Rollins. Okay. So in order to tell this match, the story of this match, you have to tell the story of the rest of the show. That being that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were hanging out with Riddle, who is still being a very excitable little boy. Kevin Owens, the straight man of this team, is upset that Matt Riddle likes to hang out all the time. This leads to Matt Riddle defeating Jimmy Uso. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn pull an Eddie Guerrero to get Jey Uso ejected from the match pretty early. Then there's a lot of babyface cheating, which includes them removing the turnbuckle and ramming Jimmy's head into it. I didn't get why they needed to cheat so much in this match. It seemed very extra. And even though the crowd was into it, to me, it's just... I am not the only one that feels like this is going on too long. But at this point, Matt Riddle wins. Heyman was backstage giving Solo a pep talk. Jay bounced in there and basically was like, while my brother wasn't at ringside. So he's staring down Solo. Solo's staring down him. And Paul kind of gets between them and says that Roman wants Solo to be focused on dismantling the clown that they had to deal with. He wanted him focused on that. So that leads us to the main event where Solo Sikoa goes out there by himself to wrestle Seth Rollins. Their match is about maybe 8 minutes before it ends and it's thrown out, really, when the Usos storm the ring. Now, apparently something happened where they ran out of time, so they didn't go into a finish. They just went into a disqualification. And the show ends with a brawl as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and all of them run to the ring. It went off hot because the crowd was really into it. But it was clearly more that was supposed to be there. And they had to cut it short. And they had to cut it short, no doubt, because something went long early in the night. And I can pretty much tell you what that was. It was more than likely Dominic Mysterio, actually getting real heat on this fucking show. So that probably went on a little too long, and it shaved time off of the main event. But likely Solo Sikoa wasn't going to lose anyway. This was probably going to be the planned finish, but they probably had to rush it because of time constraints. Everybody is starting to really now feel the drag of the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. They should not have touched each other anymore after WrestleMania. It's amazing to me that everybody was like, oh, Triple H, he's hot as fish grease right now. He's such an excellent storyteller. If he knew anything about telling stories, he should have known right after you gave people the big climax, they should not be wrestling again. There was not enough juice in the tank, and everybody saw it. Everybody, now you're basically just having these boring ass Solo Sikoa main events. And look, it's not his fault. It's the fact of the matter is, he is not interesting enough by himself yet for him to have these main events. He's not interesting enough by himself yet. His story is not interesting enough yet. They're starting to tease him and his interaction with the Usos. That's fine. But a part of it is there's been no Roman, so there's been no forward movement with this story. They've been fighting these same guys since February, and here it is May. And they've been fighting every week. It's been singles matches, tag team matches, 6-man tags, street fights. It's just been all kinds of stuff. They've fought too much. It's too much. We've reached the breaking point. And now they still have another damn match because they have the pay-per-view match. To me, this goes to show that they did not plan this storyline properly. They were just going to drag this bitch as far as they could take it. But it's getting to the point where everybody involved is actually getting less over because it's going on so long. Like, I'm telling you, it's a simple thing, telling stories. You don't just go right back to it. They never took their foot off the gas when it comes to this thing. And now people are tired of it. People are starting to really grumble about, the Uso run-ins. That's another thing with the Solo Sikoa main events. The constant Uso run-ins. The constant fucking super kicks. It's repetitive. It's boring. You know what you're going to do before they even do it. So I barely even watched this match. Because I already knew it was going to end in disqualification. What they're going to do? Have Solo lose? And then what? How is that going to benefit the storyline that they're having? So I knew there was likely going to be some kind of Sami Zayn run-in or something like that. But this storyline has run its course. It's over. And we do need to hang it up. Hang it up, partner. It's over. All right. So after that, Adam Pearce told Cody he didn't want any trouble. He also told Brock he would like to keep the peace. Brock actually laughed in his face. Brock interrupted Shawn Michaels and Adam Pearce when they were about to do the introductions of the second round, I believe it was, or was the third round. And he came out there. He's wearing the long duster with the cowboy hat. As he took to the ring, Adam Pearce called out pretty much every security guard in the state of Texas. And then Brock says it wasn't going to be enough people. So they digged into the bag and called in some of the security guards from Oklahoma too. And they all just hung out outside of the ring. And Brock just kind of stared at them like, you're probably going to need some more guys. And then Cody Rhodes' music struck and Cody attacked Brock from behind. Cody probably got like 2 or 3 punches in before he got swarmed by security dudes. Him and Brock were separated. Brock once again turned around and walked away. And that was sort of the end of the segment. That was a pull-apart brawl. It wasn't very good. It feels like it's the same exact angle they pulled before. where all the security guards pull them apart. I think they do it pull aparts 2 weeks in a row. That's what it feels like. Cody cut a promo backstage on this angle by saying that, Brock's been in his head since the attack the night after WrestleMania, and that Brock is a free agent while he is on Monday Night Raw. Brock gets what Brock wants, and he says that everybody thinks that Brock is going to win. But he says that he has to win. If he doesn't, then finishing the story can't exist. He must win this match. And I enjoy that Cody puts a lot of pressure on himself, because it does get the audience further behind him. And he is still, remains the most over babyface on the roster. It's pretty crazy what happened, didn't it? Cody didn't win, and is in some ways still as over as he was before. Sami Zayn actually did win his match, finished his story for the most part, and now his pops have diminished quite a bit. And they moved Cody along. They didn't move him right into an immediate rematch for Roman. They branched him off with somebody else. Him and Roman finished their business. They had one more promo segment where they established that Cody wasn't done, and then they moved on. They took Cody in a different direction, which is classic babyface booking. You take your babyface in a different direction when they lose, so that the chase can continue and you won't burn out the story. What they did with Sami, who, everybody thought, oh, Sami Zayn's going to steal Cody's thunder. They put Sami in the same story he's been in since January. Now you're talking about 4 months of him arguing with Jay. Come on, Jay, you can change. It's been 4 months of that shit. Even after they beat him for the tag team titles twice. Jay, you can change. And now they're still fighting and doing pull-aparts. It's boring. It's repetitive. What Cody is doing is different. It's new. People are still behind him. While people are looking at Sami Zayn and saying, well, he beat the Usos, he slayed that dragon. Now we're looking for something different from him, and you didn't give us anything new. You gave us the same shit we had already, which is more fucking Usos, more fucking Solo Sikoa, not enough Roman, which is what makes this thing work. You can't go a month without Roman Reigns and then be like, oh, this story works just fine. Not really. The Usos are great, but they need somebody to play off of. They can't play off of Solo. That's not how his character works. And Paul Heyman, that it does work that way. You can play off Paul, but Paul is very manipulative, and he also has to interact with Cody. He has to interact with other characters too. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's just been very interesting how I've been watching how they've utilized those two characters, and how people are very tired of Sami Zayn's angle right now, but they're not tired of Cody's. Just says a lot about, planning and taking things seriously. All right, so Damage Control defeated Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan in a non-title match. Bayley pinned Liv Morgan. They're telling an interesting story here about a little bit of a dichotomy between Bayley and Io Sky. That's where they seem to be building the heat, the internal struggle of Damage Control. Later in the night, Bianca Belair was talking generic promo about going from one brand to another. There's too much of that too. I hate when people talk about what brand they're going to. It's like, who gives a fuck, really? Your job is the same no matter what brand it is. And she was interrupted by Bayley. Bayley, who says that Io was going to win the championship at Backlash. And Bianca Belair essentially says that Io is a tremendous talent, but she's being held back by Dakota and Bayley. And so Io steps from the pack to sort of meet Bianca's gaze, and they have a moment. And this is about as much build for this match as they've had. They have done almost a new build for this match. This is as much build as they've ever gotten for this match. So, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate, but I'm looking forward to it anyway. These two both are very talented young ladies. Uh, Ricochet and Braun Strowman defeated Alpha Academy. This match is only important because Braun Strowman slammed Otis. It was dumb, pointless match. Who gives a shit? The Miz did a Miz TV segment with Shinsuke Nakamura, referred to himself as a perfect workhorse champion, that he's perfect to be the new world heavyweight champion because he does all the media, commercials, radio spots, all this sort of stuff, everything outside the ring. And then he proposed a merger with Shinsuke Nakamura, what he calls Miz K Nakamura. Then he said that Shinsuke Nakamura was new to Raw and was going to need somebody to watch his back. Nakamura played along, then gave him some Japanese stuff, which he started chanting. And the Japanese stuff was about Mrs. Balls, because we're not getting off of that. We're still talking about Mrs. Balls. He ended up getting into a fight. Nakamura knocked Miz out. Okay. Quintessential Miz segment. He's basically a putty, from Power Rangers. He just gets beat up pretty much every week. Omos beat up some guy named Anthony Alanis. Never seen the guy before in my life. Will probably never see him again. The Judgment Day defeated the LWO. Of course, the LWO lost. They're losers. They did a promo segment where Judgment Day bragged about continuing to run Raw, and that Rhea Ripley is going to turn Zelina Vega into a pretzel and prove her dominance. Damian Priest extensively spoke Spanish to Bad Bunny. There was just so much Spanish. I was like, fuck. I mean, there's just so much Spanish. For Christ's sake. Then Dominic got on the microphone, got booed out of the great state of Texas. He just could not get a word in. He even tried the old trick of talking over them, and they just got louder. It was ridiculous. This went on forever. It was great. It was great, legitimate heat. It went on literally forever. Dominic couldn't even finish a thought. He couldn't finish half a thought without people yelling at him that he sucks and that he's awful. He's an awful person. So, of course, he called Ray a deadbeat and some other stuff that said that the LWO was going to SmackDown, was running from them. Ray came out and said that they got drafted. They're not running away. And he said, if you liked the belt, we would have stayed on the same brand. I'd have broke out the chancleta, which is the house shoe, which is, I think, what everybody wanted. So the match itself was fine. Rhea Ripley almost bench pressed Rey Mysterio, which was looking like it was going to be a pretty impressive moment, but ended up getting stopped. But the LWO lose again. They always fucking lose. And then Xavier Woods cut a promo about bringing life back to Monday Night Raw, which he obviously cannot do because New Day is dead. All right, it's just dead. So that's the draft night part 2. Now, I haven't done news and notes yet because I did the draft first and I did the Raw review. So the biggest note is that Carmella is not going to be around for a while because she's pregnant. Okay. She basically just came back from being pregnant. She had a different kind of pregnancy, but apparently she was wrestling pregnant because she's actually further along now. So this is congratulations to her. Also, congratulations to Gunther. He got married over the weekend while WWE was in Europe. Very smart on his behalf to get married during the European tour. Ingenious by our high IQ Intercontinental Champion. Also, if you saw the videos from his wedding with him and Jenny, they were dancing. I guess it was some kind of Indian dance, and they got like he was having a time of his fucking life. All right. That's the good stuff, and that's the good stuff. I would hate to see Vince having so much fun dancing Indian dances and stuff. Like, goddamn, pal. He's got a hell of a personality. Let's bring it out. He's perfect as like the sort of proto-fascist right now. We don't need him dancing around and everything. He was having fun at his wedding, man. Let him slide. Let him cut him some slack, B. Let him do his thing. I heard WWE got an excellent response in Paris, and this is leading to Bayley wanting them to have a pay-per-view event in Paris. And I saw some French, I don't know if you call it websites or basically Twitter accounts, talking about the size of an arena in France where it holds 81,000 people. So they have a giant facility in France if they wanted to have like a big French pay-per-view. That would be great. I think that would be excellent. I'm all for them going to different venues. You know, I think it's a global brand. They should do global shit sometimes. Like, they haven't been around for 40 years and you never did a big pay-per-view in Germany or France or Australia. And, you know, it works. I don't see why not. You know, let's go for it. The Wembley thing worked in 92. They should have done more of them. I know they did that string of one night only events in London and Europe and stuff like that. It should have been more of that kind of stuff. But it should have been like out and out SummerSlams and Royal Rumbles and shit. Like, it should, why not? You know, as an American, yeah, it would suck if you're going to have the Royal Rumble in Paris and, you know, how the hell am I going to watch it, you know, without it getting spoiled? It's going to be like 2:00 in the morning or something like that. I get that. But I'm all for also, you know, hey, I take into account that our time zones are in, you know, it throws them for a loop too. So I'm not against being inconvenienced sometimes. Maybe not for the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, because those are like really big events. But, you know, having Backlash in Puerto Rico, that's awesome. If you wanted to do like a big, I don't know, September show in Paris, you know, that would be great. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't complain because it's not SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble or anything like that. It would be great. You know, they do bigger shows in Japan. You know, why not go there? You know, is their money not good? Just go for it. So I'm in favor of that. All right, so before we sign off, I checked the draft thing one more time. And so Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Akira Tozawa, Piper Niven, Tegan Knox, Madcap Moss, Emma, and Xia Li have all been drafted to Raw. So essentially, Raw got pretty much all the leftovers. And only about 5 or 6 guys are considered free agents, which sucks for them. So you guys apparently liked Monday Night Raw. Oh yeah, somebody just brought it to my attention that the entirety of The Way is on Raw. Andy Hartwell, Dexter Lumis, the Garganos. Well, not Austin Theory, but he wouldn't have been part of that anyway. But The Way is on Raw, so they may be going to put them back together as a faction. All right, whatever. But there's a lot more whispers about Triple H finishing up Vince McMahon storylines and now moving into his own. It's like, brother, we should have started that already. That's what the night after WrestleMania is for. You know, if you wanted to push rope till the draft or a Backlash or something like that, you still had to do better than what you're doing. This show has gotten worse. It's getting worse. And it's actually starting to show as people are starting to get a little bit more tired of the repetitive nature of the product. But they're selling tons of tickets, and the product is still hot right now because they're doing different stuff, you know, so it ought to be fun. But this draft stuff, that wasn't it. It wasn't hitting. I hate the draft. What do you guys think? Hit me up with a like, then do all the other YouTube things. Share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out, y'all.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.